Hello, I'm Rachel Nesbitt from Alliance for Nonprofit Resources,
And I'm Rich Wozniak from the Center for Community Resources.
and welcome to your ALICE training. We prepare well for natural disasters such as fire, tornado, stranger danger, rape alerts, and self-defense. But for a violent critical incident, we do not prepare very well, which is why we keep seeing so many casualties. The training that we receive for all dangers become lifelong skills. We need to ensure the training will provide the necessary skills and cultivate a survival mindset. Here are some questions to think about. What drills are young kids practicing in the picture on the left? The answer could be tornado, active shooter, lockdown only, or an earthquake. Why did the young adults on the right perform the same movement? They responded to the training they received even though they are adults. Under stress, pressure, people revert back to what they have been told, heard, and seen. Are they prepared if the attacker would make an entry into their room? The answer is no. They're sitting in a corner with their backs to the door, not being able to stand up or move efficiently to increase survivability. The two photos that you see on the screen are a product of training. The picture on the left shows children practicing their lockdown drills. The picture on the right shows how Virginia Tech students decided to sit in the corner while the attacker is in the adjacent building.
We can change infrastructure and technology, but we can never predict human action in these situations or events. The range, or maybe more specifically, the time a person will fire a weapon is between 0.19 to 0.31 seconds on average. Maybe a little bit more specifically, a shot will be fired every 4 to 15 seconds. When a person takes their eyes off of the threat, it will add one additional second to your response time to your threat because visual reaction to stimulus is 0.5 seconds slower than audio stimulus. The human reaction to an expected situation is between 0.7 to 0.8 seconds. Reaction to an unexpected situation takes 0.15 to 1.6 seconds. This is 2 times longer than the expected situation. The shooting is typically over before help arrives 60% of the time.
This slide represents the timeline of option-based strategies. The ALICE program developed by Greg Crane in 2001 is the first program that taught option-based strategies in the United States. This start made ALICE the pioneers of option-based strategies. In 2008, Homeland Security National Tactical Officer Association in Fairfax, Virginia, and a retail group came together and developed a program of the 3 outs: get out, hide out, and take out. This was the government's first approach at option-based strategies. In 2009, the International Association of Police wrote Guide for Preventing and Responding to School Violence. This document states that lockdown alone is not enough. You need to have offense. In 2010, the NYPD performed a study on active shooter incidents, which found the recommendation is an option-based strategy for response. In 2013, government entities came together and developed the Guide for Developing High-Quality Emergency Operations Plans. This document states option-based strategies are needed. In 2015, the Interagency Security Committee recommended a blended approach in delivering active shooter training to government offices. This supports the blended approach that ALICE provides. No new option-based strategies documents were printed after 2015.
Currently, ALICE is utilized in about 31% of the 13,506 school districts, 18% of universities, 20% of law enforcement agencies, and 23% of hospitals in the United States.
Do you think saying it won't happen here is reality or a fallacy? The answer is fallacy.
As seen in this slide, a violent critical incident can and has happened anywhere we go in our community. For example, after the Las Vegas shooting, many people who have been through ALICE training remarked that they knew to evacuate, even though everyone in the outdoor concert venue was telling them to get down.
Do you think that saying it takes a long time to hurt a lot of people is a reality or a fallacy? it is a fallacy.
From a sign of danger to calling 911 would take about 2 to 3 minutes. How long for dispatch to gain information from caller? Typically 1 to 2 minutes. How long is a police officer response time to the scene? Approximately 3 to 5 minutes. The officer to the door, 1 to 2 minutes, and add 4 to 6 minutes to the contact with the threat. So with that information in mind, let's take a look at some of these numbers. Take the time of numbers 1 to 3 and add them together, figure out the total number of minutes until police arrive. That is typically 4 minutes. Now let's go with the higher end of shots being fired, 15 seconds. This is 4 rounds a minute. I'll take the total number of 1 to 3 and multiply 4 shots, or 12 times 4 is 48. This gives you the total shots fired within the time of the event and when law enforcement will arrive. If you take the above numbers and divide by 2 to get the 1-to-1 ratio, 5 killed to 5 wounded.
On the next couple of slides, please look at the number injured, dead, and the length of the event. This will show how it takes a lot of time to hurt a lot of people is a fallacy. Columbine High School. Injured 24, deceased 13, it took 49 minutes. Virginia Tech. Injured 25, deceased 32, within 11 minutes. Sandy Hook. 2 injured, 26 deceased, and within 5 minutes. Gabby Giffords. 13 injured, 6 deceased, under 2 minutes. Country 16. 58 injured, 12 deceased, under 5 minutes. Hartford Beer Distributor. 2 injured, 8 deceased, under 7 minutes. Fort Hood. 31 injured, 13 deceased, in 10 minutes. Charleston Emmanuel AME Church. 1 injured, 9 deceased, under 6 minutes. Wedgwood Baptist Church. 7 injured, 7 deceased, under 5 minutes. Pine Lake Health and Rehab Center. 4 injured, 8 deceased, under 7 minutes. Hardin High School. 3 injured, 3 deceased, under 1 minute.
This slide shows a layout of what happened at Virginia Tech. Explain how proactive responses are mitigating casualties during the event. We will do that in this slide. Room 206. The gunman walks into the room, kills the instructor, and begins to shoot the students who hid under desks or went to the back of the room. In room 207, the gunman goes to this room second. He kills the instructor and then begins to shoot students who are initially seated at desks. The students then try to hide while he shoots them on the floor. Room 205. The students agree that the sounds that they hear from the other room are gunfire. They barricade or lock down the door with the table and chairs and sat against it since the doors opened inward and did not lock. The gunman cannot enter and shoots the doorknob with 3 rounds that went over the student's head. He still cannot enter, so he leaves and never comes back. This is an example of a proactive approach. The gunman enters the classroom after pushing tables out of the way in room 211 and kills the instructor. No one was holding the door. Matthew Laporte charges at the gunman and is shot 6 times before being down. The remaining victims hid under desks in the back corner of the room. The gunman walks around the room shooting people on the floor. In the situation at room 207, students, some of them wounded, get up and barricade the door using their hands and feet. The gunman comes back to the room, pushes on the door, and cannot enter. He shoots the door knob, does not hit anyone, and pushes a second time. He cannot open the door, leaves, and never returns. Again, a proactive approach. In room 211, the gunman re-enters room 211 a second time, shoots people laying on the ground. Room 204, Professor Liberish holds the door shut using his body and is yelling at the students to jump out the window. 14 students jump out of the window and all survive. Livershoe is wounded when the gunman shoots through the door. The gunman enters the room and executes him. He then shoots the remaining students, killing one. This is an example of evacuation. The gunman re-enters room 206 the second time. He continues shooting people on the floor. Finally, in room 211, the gunman enters the room a third time, shooting people on the floor. Investigators believe LaPorte is the last one shot in the back of the head, and he's the last victim before the gunman commits suicide. 75% of the students survived with a proactive approach.
ALICE is a proactive approach program that provides additional options beyond a single responsive lockdown. In these events, we almost always have the advantage of numbers. The ALICE program is not linear. What strategies someone uses is based off of where the attacker is at the time of the event. For example, if the attacker is in the room, you will not want to lock down. You may use either evacuate or counter to start your survival process. If the attacker is farther away from you, you may use evacuate. If they are down the hall, you may start with lockdown, barricading, and controlling the door. The ALICE program is based on human response to stress and distraction research. There is no right answer. Decide on your best option or options and commit to them. ALICE stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. The A stands for Alert. Alert is the first notification of danger you receive. You may hear a PA announcement. You may receive an alert through sensory input, such as sounds, like gunfire or screaming, or through sight, like running people or the actual attacker. You may get a text or an emergency notification, or a post may be made to an electronic bulletin board, depending on your work situation. When groups use code words, color codes, or colored place cards to communicate information during an emergency, they're only effective if all partners agree to their meaning and everyone is trained in the system and is able to remember those codes under stress. For example, if a school district or business uses terminology such as code red or code silver to indicate a lockdown, a new student, employee, or substitute teacher in the facility may not know what that code means. They may not be trained on the required response procedures. Furthermore, everyone would have to be able to recall the process in code under stress. It is impossible to ensure every present visitor, vendor, guest, substitutes, etc. will know or remember the code significance. This video is from a hospital in North Logan, Utah, in May of 2014. Notice how long it takes to make the alert and that the alert is made in code.
What do you got? Who?
Uh-oh.
What? Call us later. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay. I can hear you. Keep talking. Please. You want to be else? I can hear you. Keep talking. What? What do you want? What? What?
Cold silver in the ER. Cold silver in the ER. Cold silver.
What would you think if you ever heard code silver? Would anyone in the facility that is not a staff member know what's going on? Would the announcement have stopped visitors from entering the ER? Here's another example of alert. Think about those previous questions just asked. If a visitor had entered the ER, would they have been confronted by the gunman? If they were shot, would the fact that the hospital failed to notify the visitor of the danger in a language that the visitor would understand instead of code silver cause the hospital to be found negligent? Within your organization, think about some ways that would be an appropriate way to send an alert signal.
Why do we teach enhanced lockdown? It is a proactive strategy. It no longer allows us to just sit and wait for something to happen. The attacker already knows where everyone is located. It will buy time for law enforcement to arrive, and it slows down the aggressor. Remember, time is critical. Fortifying the location to stop or slow entry by the threat. We no longer become easy targets. The threat must go from room to room and try to make entry. The attacker may have to put the weapon down to deal with one of the barricades. The attacker may not be able to fully penetrate the location. It is a lifelong skill set that is portable to every location. By that we mean that it is not dependent on locks, keys, or gadgets. We are asking ourselves, what can we use to help ourselves lock down? Using items found in the environment, a filing cabinet, desk, chairs. The strategy of tying off doors after barricading with cables, extension cords, belts, make it harder for the attacker to enter. Having your doors always locked during class time allows you to have a barrier started. This will be one less thing you will have to do if you perform an enhanced barricade. It provides time. You may see doors like this in many of our buildings. We cannot prepare for one location or one type of door. We need to know how to control a door that looks like the ones you see here. If we have windows in our doors, we are going to learn how to control the door along with the lock. Know your environment. Rachel and I have visited multiple sites over the last few years and made recommendations to CCR and ANR to enhance our safety. Hands-on training that will follow in the coming months will focus on your individual environments. Can glass be defeated? The answer is yes, it can and it has. On the screen, you see 4 pictures of incidents where the glass was defeated and the attacker made entry. Number 1, Columbine. Unlocked doors still breached by shooting them open. Number 2, Sandy Hook. Gunman breaches entire building. Number 3, Hastings. Gunman breaches 3 locked classroom doors, but no casualties due to him placing the wrong ammunition in the weapon. Number 4, Red Lake. Gunman breaches window in the wall to enter the classroom. The first picture you see shows a good barricade, which will give you time. However, notice the door opens out. If you do not control the door, it can still be open. Picture 2 shows the door opening inward, but it is bookshelved by itself. Is that enough? It is a good starting point, but you still want to add more to that. Heavy furniture works well for barricading, if available. Remember, you typically have the advantage in numbers. Use this to your advantage. Work as a team, use multiple ideas. Furniture, wood wedges, ropes, belts, hoses, desks. This is an image a student posted on Twitter. The student had been in Alice class earlier that night. The student said that the beauty of Alice training is that you get to use it 1 hour after you have it. During a shooting at Penn State University, the instructor had told the students to use the traditional lockdown. The students refused and barricaded the location. If you have outward swinging doors, place items around the handle, such as belts, cords, or clothing. Belt, zip ties, pieces of fire hose. These are all fortification options for you. Citizens often erect obstacles, not knowing how to actually fortify a door and control it, as in the example of which way the door swings. It would be a good idea to have a barricade kit. Know the physical layout of your work and practice.
Inform is a continuation of alert. It is providing a real-time information given out to the building occupants through whatever means possible. By providing real-time information to occupants, it allows them to stay abreast of the incident and allows the survival decision process to continue. Some important points of Inform include, it is okay to announce what you know. A proper Inform will allow law enforcement to get information inside the facility where radio communication may be spotty or non-existent. A proper Inform may confuse or frustrate the aggressor. Nothing you can say is something the aggressor doesn't already know. He knows who he is, where he is, and what direction he's going in and what he's doing. Continues to mitigate of casualties based on information. It may change people's responses. It may help decide best evacuation routes. It may assist in deciding whether a lockdown or evacuate process is needed. If you have expensive equipment, plan on how to involve its use during an event, not just as an evidence gatherer for a post-event. Think about what tools you have to inform occupants during a critical incident in your specific area. The counter strategy of Alice is not fighting. The counter strategy is about taking back control from the attacker. The decision is to disrupt the attacker from shooting accurately by using counter strategies as an individual choice. The counter strategies taught are age appropriate. If the participants are 7th grade or younger, the swarm technique would not be taught. The young ones do not have the size to control the attacker, but they can use the other techniques that will go over to disrupt the attacker's mental process of shooting accurately. You should never leave a safe area to confront an attacker. This technique can be deployed if the attacker is in your immediate area. The art of shooting accurately requires training and a multi-skill set. It is both mental and a physical activity. For example, anyone can hit a golf ball versus consistently getting it on the green. Think about if you've ever shot a weapon before. The first time you shot the weapon, did you hit the center of the target? Shooting accurately is both mental and physical. You can quickly and easily cause an interruption in the mental process of shooting accurately, which results in a lower standard of physical accuracy. This means more misses. The statistics of police-involved shootings show that the skill set needed to shoot accurately can be impacted. This is a primary reason police accuracy during live events is diminished. It is due to the impact on their physical and mental ability to shoot accurately. Here you can see an inverse relationship between a skilled law enforcement officer and low-skilled attacker. This inverse relationship exists due to the environment each of these two people enter. The law enforcement officer's environment is very dramatic and chaotic. There's movement and stimulus coming at him or her during the whole event. The attacker's environment is not as chaotic and dynamic. He has no stimulus coming at them. What do you think would happen to the attacker's hit rate if his and her environment was dynamic and chaotic? The answer is his accuracy will go down. As mentioned, shooting accurately is a physical and mental activity. That's how the counter strategy interferes with the ability to engage and complete those skills with interfaces with a skill set of actively shooting correctly. This almost certainly leads to less accurate shooting, and sometimes even creates an environment where the brain can't even complete the physical act of pulling the trigger due to so much stimulus requiring OODA loops. Interrupter tools are noise, movement, distance, and distraction.
Didn't make much sense, Henry. He puts you here, then he runs around with the turns.
For 2.9 seconds, the shooter was in control. Control was taken back by the good guys without a single shot fired. Lots of guns are present in the hands of professionals. Not a single shot was returned, yet the event was over in 2.9 seconds. The physical skill required is low and the mental toughness required is high. How do you make it mentally easier to engage in the swarm and mimic this action of using number superiority? And that's with training. On the next slide, how many times does a blue dot appear on the screen? The answer is 11. Good job. Many of you probably came up with that correct answer. Now let's take it up a notch. In the next slide, I need you to count how many times the blue dot appears on the screen and how many times the yellow dot appears on the screen. The answer is 11 blue and 11 yellow. Most of you gave up based on your brain being overstimulated by doing more than one thing. The brain cannot multitask effectively due to the speed/time required for your brain to process the information. We will go over these activities a little bit more in depth in person.
Evacuation is not a new strategy. This is the current standard response protocol used for many dangerous events such as fire, bomb threats, and the smell of smoke or gas. Moving away from danger should always be an option. Evacuations are based on a threat and the location of the threat. A violent critical incident is no different. These situations are all just as dangerous. Why are we telling people to stay near the danger for a violent critical incident only? Every law enforcement officer feels this is the best option. It may not be like a traditional fire drill, and it may be a window or a door that nobody uses, or a connecting door. In firearm evacuation, the question we ask, how long does it take the average school to evacuate during a fire drill? The answer is, an average school takes about 2 minutes for an orderly evacuation drill. This improves as the school year progresses or if they are motivated to get out. Alice evacuation should even be faster. Staff will need to take a leadership role to help maintain some control. Permission to run, especially outside, move to a rally point or a predetermined meeting place which is far away from the building, and moving away from the aggressor. As an example, if the aggressor comes in one door and there's an opportunity to have a second door in the room, run out that door.
That concludes your online pre-course ALICE training. Rich and I will be going to each of your facilities within 2022 to discuss ALICE a little bit more and do in-person active training.
Thank you for participating with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the coming year.